Long ago in shadows deep, unbound by time or light, a brotherhood was formed with vows to end the endless night. Sages in their whisper cloak sought arcane powers myth. In quests of lore and ancient scripts they found the primal rift. From desert sands to frozen peaks they wandered wide and far. With runes and scrolls in hand they faced the powers of Bazaar. In temples lost to time they found the secrets seared in stone. They forged a pact, unyielding hearts to never be alone. Oh, the horror grim keepers of the flame. In the darkest nights we call your ancient name. Through the endless realms you cast your spell. From the crypts of death to heaven's citadel. In the darkened catacombs where angels feared to tread, they battled fiends and demons spawned in cosmic dread. The prime evil set to rise were shackled by their chains. This sacred order stood as one and tempered through the pains. With staffs of light and tomes of gold the Horadrim prevailed. Yet in their triumph lay the curse of secrets too unveiled. Their ranks diminished, fractured hearts in time's unyielding grip. Yet legends whispered still of their celestial fellowship. Oh, the Horadrim keepers of the flame. In the darkest nights we call your ancient name. Through the endless realms you cast your spell. From the crypts of death to heaven's citadel. Oh, the Horadrim keepers of the flame. In the darkest nights we call your ancient name. Through the endless realms you cast your spell. From the crypts of death to heaven's citadel. passion, fury in their eyes. Battles fought on bloodstained ground. Echoes scream the only sound. With each victory a spark of hope. Through the twilight they will cope. Darkness falls but never wins. Light reborn when night begins. When night begins, it begins. Light begins. With each victory a spark of hope. Through the twilight they will cope. Darkness falls but never wins. Light reborn when night begins. Evil lingers, shadows creep. Demons stirred from restless sleep. Nephilim stand their ground each time. Waging war through ages line.
Hello, and welcome to the rest of your life. Starring me. Level 2, 8, and 9. You're rocking and rolling at the same time. You know? Alright, I can see everything. I'm making lots of changes to my build here. I was wearing a coat just now, but I was overheating. I had to throw it off. It's 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me talk to my guild here. Withdraw. Hey. Live on Facebook, YouTube, X at Gooboberti. Should be live for 12 hours today. Happy to just okay, there we go. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do in my little daily sessions is dungeons. Okay? Dungeons. Dungeons are the way to get some nice casual Obducite. 300 or so Obducite for a little run through here. Not that bad. And we're doing it for the chance of XP buff as well. This is Torment 3, which I think I can farm now that I raised my new glyph up to 45. Fast enough. So I've introduced a bit more earth here. I took off rabies. I added the blood howl. I think I'm more powerful now. I'm pretty sure. I realize I have more damage from my earth, and I'm using the shred ability really just to move through the group quickly and to reset my other cooldowns. Enough of them stand their ground each time. Done. Right there. Right there. Boom, 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 ba-doom, ba-doom, doom. That's a lot of damage. It's true. Stuff is lasting a while. With the blood harrow. Amazing. I'll do this a few times. Starting with a for Obducite and the XP shrines. If they're here, I'll tell my clan what's going on. Yeah, that rock thing is really powerful. Really powerful. Let me go this way. $8 million. Yay for trapped shrines. I gotta love them. Gotta love them. Here it is. Whenever I cast abilities with cooldowns, I believe, I pull them in. I believe. Right there. We don't want any stragglers. No stragglers, please. I guess I could open this up to the public. I'm not ready for Torment 4 until I raise my glyphs up. I swapped out one of my glyphs yesterday, so I have to raise it up a bit more. I got it beyond legendary status. Increase all my damage. Yeah. Threads. Ooh, bully. Thank you. Beautiful. What is this? And over here, deserted underpass. Wonderful. Just rocking and rolling in these dungeons. Over time, I'll have enough Obducite to mess around. And I want to dig through all these extra tributes I have just to get rid of them. Let's go do another dungeon. That was one. Let's do another one. Another one. Another one. Well, there's a Realmwaker. Realmwaker sort of takes priority. Sort of. Let's go knock that out right now. I shouldn't say sort of. They do take priority. Oh boy. Oh, hi, Mark. Okay, I'll knock this out and get back to my dungeons. Until we get the XP shrine, that is. And even then. There we go. We got this thing coming up. Like 1 minute, 30 seconds. Lightning. I would love if I can swap out between builds, because I would all the time. I would use a build for quickly moving through an area, like killing scrap. You know, a build for bosses, a build for higher level pits, you know, a build for lower level stuff. Different things. And then like experimental builds, so I can mess around and come back to what I had before. Yeah. See. There we go. I have a great shrine. Right there. Come on. What in the world? My little doggy is not picking up all the gold. Hurry up. He's so slow. My little animal is slowly picking up all that gold. There you go. Very nice. Beautiful. 12.4. Move forward a bit. Lots of wrecks. Come on. Oh my gosh. Why is he still running? Hurry up. I had to catch up. There he is. We have to anger the beast. Come on down around the bend. All this extra cataclysm. Lightning. Whoa. Yeah. What you say? Bada boom. And we're in the seething realm right now. So I saw the fireside chat, the campsite chat, campfire chat thing from Diablo, Blizzard yesterday. Much of it was talking about the artwork and design of Nahantu, specifically the hollows, and how they designed this weird Ichor. I don't even know how it's pronounced anymore because I've always thought it was Ichor, and then every so often, like in this game, they pronounce it as Ichor. Ichor! You know, and then in the campfire chat, they said Ichor. So whatever. You got this black tar ichor stuff, which is the embodiment of hatred. They tried to visualize what would living hatred look like, and they figured it was like this black goo with cores of red, blah blah blah, and it takes over things and it converts them and it just it consumes, you know. So it's like the blob mixed with tentacles and teeth. It's like the blob, the thing, and just pure hatred. It's pretty cool concept, and they talked about how they designed it, and they took their time, and it's you really can't tell all that much when you're zooming out all the way. But a lot of the creatures are taken over by these weird tentacles. They describe their new shaders, where it makes it seem like they're dripping, or that there's flowing ooze over the bodies, and it's been incorporated into some of the cosmetics as well. There's a malignant weird armor thing, and like the mount has it. Something for the mount, something for you. That whole thing is true. We'll go for materials. Yeah, and there's different types of creatures. Like there are 3 different kinds of creatures. There's a caster, there's a spitter, and there's a fast guy. The fast guy I think teleports around The spitter spits in a row. The caster can summon or empower others. There's like a big dude with a shield, and he provides buffs to the other dudes. That's cool. Now, as for the mid-season update and all that, they were discussing class balancing. They said that their idea, well, they talked about their overall philosophy. That at first they were trying to promote equity or equality between the classes, so they would have to bring something down to make everything equal. But people didn't like that. So they wanted to promote the power fantasy starting in Season 2. The whole power fantasy thing where people can feel like they can break the game. They wanted to allow that. And they kept enhancing on that idea, but they still try to fix things. They try to fix issues that can affect performance. Like if there's an issue where too much stuff is happening and it causes the game to lag, they'll fix that. Or some weird buggy thing where people found a way to cast evade while evade's still going using a macro or something like that. They'll fix that. But if you find a way to do some crazy damage, they don't want to mess with it. And their idea is that they'll sort of let you mess with it with some crazy build for the rest of the season, and then next season they'll fix it. So they're saying that next season expect the Spiritborn to not have some crazy quill volley situation. It's going to be something else. And they want you to find what those issues or what those things are. They want you to find amazing synergy and balance. They were describing it as bugs and unintended synergy, or unintended combinations, unintended effects. Okay? That they didn't really plan out all the layers of potential synergy, and now all of a sudden some sort of combination could do a ton of damage because people can layer things up and stack it up. And that's fine. Now, I'm not sure when the next mid-season update's gonna come, but they were describing the fact that every class is going to get some sort of benefit. More than one thing is going to happen to them. Basically, they want to go through all the aspects, and if people aren't using aspects enough, they're going to add something special to the aspects to make it more worthy. So it's going to be the same thing that you're already doing, but it's going to add a big chunk of damage. And they're saying it's going to be significant, and they gave a couple examples. One example I'll mention is with the Barbarian. There's an aspect, I'm not sure what it's called, but after swapping weapons 8 times, you gain Berserking for a number of seconds. Now, after swapping weapons 8 times, you gain Berserking and 50% damage, or 40% damage. And they show the difference, it's like almost double damage. It went from like 27,000 damage to 48,000 damage, or something like that. Significant. And they're saying that it's significant across the board, that you're probably already using some of these aspects, but now they're going to be stronger. And that's what they're going to do. But they're not nerfing the Spiritborn. But the Spiritborn's also getting a buff, but it's not related to Quill Volley. It's related to some other thing that people aren't using as much. So some other aspect that people aren't using is getting some weird little buff. And I feel like they went through a couple layers of describing how they don't want to add additional game systems. And I feel like they feel kind of guilty about it. That they don't want to add extra game systems at this point. They want to polish what already exists. That they're happy with the in-game progression and the number of ways that you can progress. And they want to now start polishing these systems as opposed to adding more. And it feels like they were sort of fluffing up their speech before admitting that they could have just said, as for content update, 0. You know? They have to make it sound good and political. They have to say, you know, this is how far we've come. These are the systems that we've added. There's lots of ways to manage. These are the current issues. We want to address certain issues and make sure it's nice and polished across the board before we add new systems. And we plan on layering things in incrementally over time, like layering in extra game systems over time. But right now, they're not going to add any additional game systems. That's going to keep polishing what's already here. But I don't think I finished it, so I think I have to go back and watch the very end of it. they're kind of going through all the different classes and all the different aspects they'll be adding. And there's supposed to be a PTR for the next season coming up. Not that I do that. A public test realm. A public test realm. Hey there, Chris. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, you good. Alright, so here we are. This is another dungeon. This is what we do now. Yeah. I'm gonna go through here. Back down. Did you play Fallout, Chris? How'd it go for you? You have like a ton of atoms saved up? Do you have like 85 billion atoms right now? Here it goes. Champion's Demise. Awesome. Yep. Once I get the XP buff, I'll see what's up. You have 28,000 atoms. Well, that's cute. But you successfully got it updated. Was it like gigabytes or something? How did you end up making room? Did you have to delete a bunch of everything? 130 gigabytes. I don't know. 130 gigabytes. 1.21 gigabytes. .21 gigabytes. Also, here's something interesting, which is completely unrelated. I was just existing yesterday, and I thought about something that you could mess around with AI. So sometimes my Alexa speaker thing will ask a joke or something. If they're guessed to answer. What if you did it opposite, you know? Right? Because a smart person can just make up an answer to a joke. And quite often jokes are riddles. If you have like a any joke that asks a question. What do you get when you cross an ostrich with an aardvark? You know? It's more like a riddle. So to ask a random riddle to AI and have it answer. Like, if you just make up a riddle, just make it up with no intention of there actually being an answer. How is a baby jaguar like a cactus brush? It's going to give you some accurate answer that is sort of interesting. It's really interesting because it can do it. So I was testing that out, and it seemed like it was getting excited with exclamation points. Ooh, let's do another. I asked it, how do you make a keyboard? And it said, we're writing too many emails. Another. I'm sure it can do better than that. It said, no, make it have a reference to boards. How do you make a keyboard? How do you make a surfboard? I'm sure there's many funny answers to that, because you could talk about the ocean itself or the surfboard. You know what I mean? How do you make a surfboard? How do you make a cupboard? anything. So I got the XP shrine. That's cool. I was using the Grok system. I really like the Grok AI. It's built into X. If you don't have X, you should totally use it. Start using it. Really. Get with the time before it's too late. You know, it's still pretty early. You know, it's still pretty early. You can get in on it early. You know, I think you should get into X a little bit because it's great. I don't know. It's like Facebook, but slightly different. I don't use Facebook all that much as a social media platform. I use it as a streaming platform, but not like browsing. I don't browse the news. I don't look at posts and updates. I don't write anything in terms of posts and updates because I don't really want to share my political opinion or give anything to the algorithm. I don't want it to affect how my stream is listed in any way. You know? So I'm trying to make it completely neutral. But I'm quite open about my views and so forth on X. And I use it like a debate platform. I think the format is slightly better than the Facebook post version. The way it's presented. Just the text, and then you got some pictures. You can reply to people, it shows number of replies. It's all very comment-centric. It's more like you have a wall of comments and then what they're replying to afterwards versus people's individual posts. I don't know. I feel like Facebook is more people-centric. And, you know what I mean? I feel like Facebook is more people-centric and X is more post-centric. Like, what is the actual comment versus who wrote the comment and so forth. It's sort of like Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. That's more about like the person making the post. Check out my coffee cup and my sunglasses. You can buy them here at this Amazon link. You know? And then people like that. Or something. Or today I'm making a Dutch apple pie. You start with 3 granny apples. Or whatever. But anyways, X has this built-in AI thing called Grok. And you get access to the better version if you have a verified account. Whatever. Or maybe you have to pay for it. I don't know. But it is apparently smarter than some AI systems, and it's not biased in its answers. And the presentation of the answer is very nice. It's like it has an introduction paragraph, bulleted points, and then a conclusion summary. Very nice. If you ask a question. And it has access to current information. Other AI systems don't really have access to current information as much, but this one sort of does because it has access to people's tweets or people's posts. And if necessary, it'll give you references. It'll have a bunch of comments at the bottom. It'll have a couple blocks at the bottom to show where it got its information from. Other systems do the same the same thing with a footnote. A little number at the side, and it'll show you where it got the information from. The reference. Show me all references. A couple articles. I feel like the Grok system has a better understanding of the overall context of the information and how it relates to everything else. And other AI systems might just be relying on individual articles and summarizing those, and or individual like random Reddit posts, and that becomes a truth without understanding the overall context. And there's funny examples of this where people have tested it by asking some stupid question, and it gives you a stupid answer because a person has asked that question as a joke in Reddit, where they give you some crazy answer because somebody else has said it. But I don't think Grok would provide that same answer. It would understand the context and say, here's the variety of answers. Now, some internet commenters have started this meme, this online viral joke about how you can actually use this in a funny context. You know? It'll give you the full scope. Yesterday, I was talking about the Lion King in the stream. I don't know if you heard her. I was asking the question if humans have ever been in the Lion King. Like, does the Lion King franchise ever mention humans? Does it ever show humans? I was saying that it'd be really interesting if the prequel to the Lion King, meaning the Mufasa movie. There's a Mufasa and Scar movie coming out. Right? I was it'd be really interesting if it starts off with humans. But it's not going to, because it's going to be weird. We've never seen humans in that context of the new CGI version of Lion King. It would be uncanny valley weirdness if all of a sudden you had Chris Pratt showing up. We've got to get these lions back in their natural habitat. A bunch of poachers show up. If you think about Bambi has a human for maybe 45 seconds. The Bambi movie has a human at the very beginning. Spoiler alert. You can kind of see him for a second. But then there's no more humans. And it's all animals talking to each other in a little animal utopia. So I was wondering, in the Lion King franchise, if there are humans. So I asked Grok, because I faintly remember some sort of human poacher situation in the Timon and Pumbaa cartoon. So I asked Grok, in the entirety of the Lion King franchise, to include all the derivatives and the cartoons and so forth, have there ever been humans shown or mentioned at all? And it said, for the most part, no, and it specified blah, 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 and it broke down the fact that in the Timon and Pumbaa cartoon, there was a human that was competing for things. So I did remember that properly. And Timon makes human world references, if you remember. Hey, thank you, Mary. Have your thingy thing. Are you playing this game still? How's No Man's Sky going for you? I made all the classes. I'm back to a druid. I'm back to a druid now. It's working out. I'm really enjoying this end game. There's lots of content. I'm enjoying it way more than previous seasons because now there's a bit more to do and there's a bit more methods to get supplies. Right now I'm doing these nightmare dungeons to get Obducite and other random supplies along with the XP shrine. And the Undercity is great too. Outworld exploration is great. You know, I understand now. Like, for example, you get the exquisite blood from the Blood Maiden. That makes sense, huh? And sometimes you have to farm specific bosses to get specific gear. Like, my ring was dropped from Lord Zir, so I had to farm a bunch of blood for a while. But that's on top of the Undercity with the boss summons and the boss summon Opal. And doing the Opal thing is really important. The Realmwaker, those Opals are just money, because they give you 15% extra XP, and there's a random XP shrine inside these dungeons. So I think a person should work with one class until they're pretty high level, like Paragon 200 or something, and they have a stockpile of materials of all different variety, and they're rich, and you have... I sort of made a breakdown the other day, and you have to have a representation of all of the universal items that work with any class. You know what I mean? It would be nice if you had a selection of each of all the mythics, like one of each of the mythics before you make a new class, because it's easier to farm with your highest level character, right? And once you have everything, there's a bunch of uniques that are really good, like Flicker Step, Penitent Greaves, the Temerity, the Godslayer Crown, you know, the Fists of Fate. There's a bunch of unique items that work on any class and that you can use with a newish character when they hit level 60. Mythic gear is usable at level 35, so that's even better, you know? So if you hit level 200 and you have a ton of pale coins with the mercenaries, you fill up on the Opals, and you have tons of money and resources, then making a new character is wonderful. There's a whole pattern to it, you know? You get out there at level 10, you fill up your slots with legendary items from the purveyor. Level 15, you get your jewelry slots open. Grind some, do some fine tuning with the tempering and masterworking process. And then you get your mythic at level 35. And that changes everything. You push, 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 do some grinding here and there. Fantastic. Get your other items at level 60. And then you're really strong. And then the goal is to push all the way. Well, at that point, you have to complete the pit level 20 to unlock Torment 1. And then you keep on doing that until they give you new glyphs. And you level up what you have. You map your Paragon points to the new character. And then the goal is to grind, in my opinion, until you're past Torment 2, which is tier 35. Until you're about tier 40. Until you have a collection of different glyphs. And all your glyphs are at least level 15 for the radius increase. At that point, you can farm the open world of Torment 1. And I think it'd be good to go through and do each of the lair bosses on Torment 1 with a new character, because it's a fine way of obtaining specific gear. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes. All right. And here we go. These runes going. And put away the extra stuff here. Alright, the boss mats. We're doing another dungeon in just a bit, if it's not open yet. Let's go do another one. Doesn't matter what, I got another XP buff. It's fantastic. I'll need to top off my flims. Let me go again. And I did get the XP buff. Oh boy. This is another dungeon, and then this would be like 3 dungeons in a row. I have 46 minutes remaining on this XP shrine. And then I'll do some Outworld content. I'm really trying to get rid of all my Baneful Hearts, so it'll give me a reason to farm more. That's from the Helltide, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm glad that the 7 Days to Die update didn't hit yet, because I would be doing that right now and not this. And since that point, I've found a new appreciation for this game. Yeah, it sucks when you have a bunch of games all releasing stuff. I agree. So many games require so much time to really appreciate. And that's why I dread when a new game comes out, because I know that the second I put in a bunch of time into it, and if I like it a lot, then all of a sudden I spent 12 hours on one game, and the other game starts to fade away into distant memory, and then all of a sudden I kind of forget exactly what I was doing, and I lose familiarity and context, you know, with my grinds, and then after a couple days of not doing something, I just put it away and focus on the other thing. Have you been playing Call of Duty there, Mary? With the zombies and all that? Are the zombies good this time? Call of Duty. Oh no no. Thank you for the blood. I love it so much. I need everything. Everything. Look, it's a greasy key. Okay, so after this one, I'll go back out into the outworld, and I'll try to get the Blood Maiden for a little bit. So part of my new strategy is to, well, always open up the party finder. Oh, so No Man's Sky is doing a thing where you can replay the previous expeditions that you missed. See, No Man's Sky is a game that I would have to put so many hours into. You know, because there's tons of content. Especially if I'm on multiple planets and so forth. I'll be spending forever working on my little battle cruiser in different planets, trying to process materials, building my ship. I love the fact that you're forced to do a full clear now in these dungeons to get the Obducite. Isn't that great? Before, it was all about completing the Nightmare Dungeon to level up a glyph. So people were just skipping everything and going through it as fast as possible, so it made it feel like these dungeons were almost pointless, and some dungeons were bad because they make you perform actions. But now it's all good because the more stuff you do, the more Obducite you get for masterworking your gear, so it's awesome. But I had a Mass Effect frigate. Oh boy. Alright, here we go. Let me go down and get the Blood Maiden down. So, you do the Blood Maiden over and over and over again until the Realmwaker appears. When the Realmwaker appears, you have 5 minutes to head there before it starts. And that's enough time to sort of spend some cinders or whatever. If I'm not doing the Blood Maiden, I really like to focus on this bottom part of the map for the open world. Whispers. So if it's down here, I go down there right away. I love this spot down here. Really dense with enemies. And a ton of elites. I'm trying to get rid of all these hearts, so I can then grind more hearts. There's an event right over here I want to pick up. Alright, right over here. Right over here. Waves of Darkness. Yes, because people were just trying to quickly go through and whatever, you know? But now, so the Undercity is great. The Undercity is a new little activity. For those that don't know, it's basically the Horn of Trials from last season, which no longer really exists. There used to be a weird time dungeon, like a speed trial dungeon. I think it still exists, but you can't do it anymore. It's in Gyakul. That no longer exists, and now there's something called the Undercity that is just like it, but it gives you rewards. See, the Horn of Trials for the speed run, all you really got was just a little banner icon for your character. You do it once per week and that's it. But now it's a major source of certain types of supplies because you're able to customize it with a tribute that you pay at the very beginning, and you can specify getting Obducite or runes or boss summoning parts or equipment, and you even have a chance to get mythic equipment, and it takes like 2 minutes, and it's really about speed because all you gotta do is go through and you kill certain enemies to increase your time, and there's a big clock that ticks down. It's not like the pit. There's no loot, but there's these braziers, these spirit beacons, and if you destroy those, they fill up this meter. Whenever you hit 4 out of 4 for the meter, you get the full reward. Yeah, whenever you get 4 out of 4, you get the full. So, you go through and quickly knock it out. Something on my mouse pad and I hate it so much. So you go through and quickly do it, and you sort of hop around and you skip everything, and you kill everything between A and B, and then click on the spirit beacons, it spawns some enemies, you kill those, and you rush on to the next floor. There's 3 floors involved, and then you leave and it's done and you do it again. Then there's the pit. Then there's the Horde, which is a single room with up to 10 waves, and you get a whole lot of stuff, and it's nice and tight and efficient for killing a ton of bad guys in a little room where you don't have to move around, and it's just a ton of bad guys. Really focused. And it's good XP up until you're able to farm higher than Torment 4. It'll be the best XP you get. Sort of. You know? Like doing a hardish Horde. But then when you're able to farm above a T65 pit, that becomes better for XP. But in terms of just a tight group of supplies, it's great because you get a couple, like over 1,000 Obducite for Masterworking. And then the pit, you kill as much stuff as possible within the time, the end. And then some people like to rush ahead or something. But it's nice to work as a group, but there's no loot, so it's nice and streamlined. And of course, the Nightmare Dungeon has a bunch of everything. I think that's where the heart is. And the fact that you have the Obducite in there is fantastic. And there's usually an event. Now, in terms of Opals, doing the pit is a fantastic method to get a ton of Opals. And level up your glyphs. So you do the pit to level up your glyphs, to get higher XP, and to get a batch of Opals at the end. It'll be fast. And whenever you work with a new character, it's really all about obtaining and leveling up your new glyphs and obtaining and masterworking class-specific gear because other classes can't farm the gear for you. So if you're a sorcerer, you can't farm Spiritborn gear, and vice versa. I'm checking the map for the Realmwaker. And you gotta do the Realmwaker whenever it pops up because these Opals are fantastic. Like, I'm using the material Opal, so there's the occasional bundled herb and rawhide and veiled crystal dropping from the enemies. A bit more than normal. Plus I'm getting 15% extra XP. On top of that XP shrine from the dungeon. And then the incense, and then the elixir. So I'm not on a team, but doing the Blood Maiden helps. It takes a lot of XP for me to level up now. I'm Paragon 289 out of 300. It doesn't keep going. It stops. Okay, the Realmwaker has just appeared. I have 5 minutes. I'm going to go kill the Blood Maiden one time, then do the Realmwaker, and then come right back to go spend the rest of these cinders. Let's go down to the Realmwaker one time. More round-based and open world. You haven't been playing the zombies as much. Mostly multiplayer. They brought back Nuketown. Map is playing 24/7. You're firing a weapon, diving sideways. That's cool. Let me hurry up. This is Torment 3. I'm not quite sure how well I can handle the Blood Maiden. I was farming Torment 2 with this character. But now I can kill the stuff on Torment 3, but I'm not quite sure about the bosses. I have about 4 minutes remaining. Oh, so the... Here in this game, now there is a party finder system, and it works very well, you see? Find a party, list a party. Usually I list my party if I'm doing some sort of rotation, and it gets filled up all the time. So, if I'm doing a Helltide rotation, I like to let them know what my pattern is. The pattern is to stay here and farm this guy for the occasional blood for a bit. And whenever I get over 1,000 cinders, or whenever there's about 10 minutes remaining and I have 1,000 cinders or something like that, then I go spend. You know, as opposed to just running around the whole time. Once I realized that the Blood Maiden here actually drops exquisite blood regularly, not all the time. There it is, there it is, there it is, there it is, and go. There you go. There you go. There's that damage. Oh yeah. I'm gone. Amazing. Alright, so now let's head on down to the Realmwaker. Let me open up one box. I'm going to open up one box and then head to the Realmwaker. I'm going to ride past all this stuff. We have 2 minutes. My build here is nice as well. It's nice. Alrighty. So now we have 1 minute. Can I open up this thing? Ooh, look at this. Very nice. Pop goes the weasel. Let me hurry up. We're gonna run out of time here. I have 1 minute. I'll kill this Hellborn around the corner. There you go. Alrighty then. Now where is it? Good thing it's not worth a grim favor. I'll go down to the Tree of Whispers after this. Omnidirectional movement. The Omni system. 14 seconds. Yay. Sometimes a treasure goblin will spawn from this as well. There you go. The Realmwaker shows up. Well, I'm not exactly sure of the exact time window, but from what I can tell, for my overall impression. So, I was just in the Helltide. There was about 20 minutes remaining. I know that I can complete the Realmwaker and then head back to the Helltide to wrap it up, you know? And then by the time I wrap it up and do some other stuff, and then begin some stuff, before you know it, it'll say another Realmwaker will appear in 5 minutes. It's not back to back. I'm not exactly sure of the time frame. I don't know if it's every half an hour or so, but it's quite often. And it's usually, so I would say it happens twice an hour. I don't think it's every half an hour. I don't know. Maybe every 15 minutes. I don't know. It could be all the darn time. Really. Because if I'm ever down there in the heart of Nahantu, I know that halfway through that, I will be summoned to the Realmwaker. If I'm always watching the map, it's sort of my timer. I say, let's go do the Tree of Whispers until the Realmwaker shows up. So it gives me like a little 5-minute window to wrap up the Tree of Whispers. It puts some fire under my feet. You can complete almost a full Tree of Whispers rotation if you go to the right spots within 5 minutes, you know? You can do an event that takes 1 minute. Along the way, you're collecting the motes that's worth a bunch of, you find a dead body, you collect the motes, you do an event, and you go into a cellar. And before you know it, you're good to go. And quite often, the Realmwaker is also worth whispers. I'm not quite sure of the time frame. I know that you just have to look at the minimap. It'll appear somewhere around the border of the minimap, and it'll be announced. And then every so often I check, and it'll appear up here in the corner. But I'm not quite sure of the time frame. But it's really worth it, and people buy these opals for over 100 million gold. They're important. And also, here's a really interesting thing. So here's a really interesting thing. Besides the fact that they give you, 15% extra XP and whatever. Now, it says right here, enemies routinely drop additional herbs and crafting materials, right? But in situations where the enemies don't drop material, at the end of the activity, you get all the stuff. So, in situations where there is no loot, like the Undercity, or the Horde, or the Pit, if you use an opal, you end up with a batch of stuff at the end. So you end up with a bunch of runes, or a bunch of boss summoning parts, or a bunch of plants and materials, or extra equipment. If you use the equipment opal during a boss, then you'll get an additional drop. You know what I mean? So if you're ever doing like a boss rotation, you got to make sure to have a stack of the red opal for the equipment. If I'm ever doing a deliberate boss summoning part run, I use the purple opal for the torment stuff. And in between I use the green opal. Yeah, I used to do the Tree of Whispers in the PvP area. But now, I got this better pattern. Because, so let's just say, there are 2 lair bosses tied to... There's 2 lair bosses. You can call it 3. There's 2 to 3 lair bosses tied to the Helltide. I don't like to do the Helltide all the time, because I think it's kind of boring, and I'd rather do, but it's also very important. I like to do these areas down here, so if there's anything down here, this takes priority. Otherwise, if I look at the Helltide and there's Tree of Whispers in it, that takes priority. Otherwise, I do a Nightmare Dungeon in between, or the Undercity. If there's nothing of interest, so basically if the Blood Maiden is not a Whisper, it's quite often the Blood Maiden will be worth 5 Grim Favor, And there's a bunch of Whispers tied to the Helltide, like kill 5 Harbinger. It's really easy, because you're already there. And the bosses that are tied to it would be Lord Zir with the Exquisite Blood, and Grigori for the Living Steel. And quite often, these guys will have something you need. For example, my axe, I need a better version of, comes from Grigori. And my ring, I could use a better version of, because it's not 4-star, comes from Lord Zir. You know what I mean? And then the Malignant Heart drops just in general as you complete the Tree of Whispers. And that is for Varshan, and he drops my chest. So it's not really about the mythics, it's about getting better versions of the good stuff. So, the gold equipment materials. I'm currently using the material one, and that's the one I just got and did. Let's go for another equipment opal. I'm not going to use it yet. I like to make sure I have a stack of the equipment, torment, and material, and then you get the socketable one whenever it pops up. But yeah, knocking out a quick Undercity should become routine because you get these tributes every so often, and you know they end up stacking up. And I don't like to have things stack up too much without being used. It means that you're not doing it properly, and they're really actually rather fun. It's all about speed, and it takes about 2 minutes or something like that if you do it quickly. And then I open up my team to the group, to the world. Party Finder, knock it out. And it's always nice to see right here I have 22 minutes left in this XP shrine. It's always nice to top that off as well. So it's not that bad to do a Tree of Whispers dungeon either, even if it's not worth Obducite, even though it's good to do the ones that are worth Obducite. It's a lot over time, but you might already have a mountain if you're not upgrading anything. But I realize if you make multiple characters, you're going to need a crazy amount of Obducite to masterwork the gear, because you go through several items. You go through several iterations of gear whenever you work with a new character until you're settled. And along the way, it costs a lot. And then if you ever get a replacement for a piece of gear, you have to masterwork that too. It costs thousands and thousands. I don't know, like 4,000 Obducite per item? 5,000? Something like that. I don't know the exact amount that you need per item to fully masterwork it, but it's a lot because the final rank alone costs 2250. The final rank alone, and the rank before that costs over 1,000, and the rank before that costs close to 1,000. You know what I mean? And that's rank 12 up there. But if you're not spending, you could end up with like 50,000 Obducite and then spend it all. So basically, if I'm not doing the Helltide, whatever, if I'm doing open world farming, it's going to be somewhere in the new part of the map. Like one of these new areas down here is what I prefer. See, this spot right here is also pretty good, so I can do that. Let's go. But I am deliberately trying to get rid of my baneful hearts. I had over 100, over 200 because I wasn't using them. But you gotta. Oh, you meant to ask what level do you start at hard level with a new character? Okay, with a new character. If you're starting from scratch with a new season, you should start, because you have nothing. Might as well start at hard and that's it, you know? That's sort of a different scenario. But speaking of a new character with a late stage Paragon dude, you start at hard, you know? Well, I have to look at it. There's hard, expert, and then penitent. I like to move up to expert whenever I have a full set of legendaries. You know what I mean? And then once I get my mythics, I step it up to... Or maybe I wait until... I think I might wait until... either wait until level 35 or whatever to move up to... I think once I get a full set of legendaries and my build sort of vaguely works, I move it up to expert because you should be overpowered. So as I was saying earlier in some previous stream, that if you are playing the game correctly, you know, You basically step outside, you do some stuff, you level up really quickly. Once you hit level 10, you go back down to the purveyor, get a full set of gear, and you keep going until it's legendary. It's not that hard. You can turn rare into legendary too, and then you temper it, and then you masterwork it at level 10. The game doesn't expect you to do it. You become really powerful. You just don't have all the cool aspects because it's a brand new character and you don't have all the class-specific aspects. You get that over time. But whatever you're doing is super amplified. Shazam! The game doesn't expect it. And then the tempering lines give you a big old bundle of goodies. You put gems in when you can, and you should be overpowered relatively soon. If everything is up to date and you use the Opals and you use the other systems. Also, whenever you hit level 60 to get extra goodies, you can do this right here where you craft these items. You can make, 33 at a time to fill up the inventory. But look how much it costs. 6,600 rawhide, iron chunk, and veiled crystal, and 33 million gold. It can be seen as rather expensive, or it could be seen as a method to process long-term acquisition of goods. Otherwise, you just have a mountain of stuff that serves no purpose. Like, why even have hundreds of thousands of materials if you're not using them? If you're only using 30 here and 40 there, you need some deeper sink. And that's what it is. So that's why it helps to work with one character for a long time. They have a mountain of goodies. Okay, so we're done here. Looking at the map. See, there's no blood. There's no Tree of Whisperers in the Helltide. But there is something over here in Nahantu, so I'll work on that. And very soon, there will be another Realmwaker. You see. Like, very soon into this process, the Realmwaker will be announced. Okay? Like, very soon. It's not already announced. Look, it's already announced. So I have 2 minutes to go do something. And then I'll come back and complete this. So I have 2 minutes to do this. But I'll probably knock out something else along the way. I like that extra time under my feet. I gotta go. Come on. Can't do that. And right there. Okay, let's go down this way. I have 1 minute. Thank you. Oh, look, there's 2 runes here. Very nice. 3 runes. What? That's crazy. Okay, let me go through. I don't see a body. Let's hurry up. Okay, there's the body. Yeah, 42 seconds. Let's go check where it is. Where is it? There it is. Is that the fat goose? Okay. Oh, see, I'm knocking out multiple whispers right now. Oh, great. I'm knocking out like 3. The ritual, the corpse, and the this other little bounty thing. Come on. Done, and then gotta run over there. Normally I'll be clearing out all this stuff, so that's done. Another one. Go right over here to the fat goose. You start out hard with new character, and then you do what you gotta do, and it's actually rather smooth and awesome. Because I made all the characters now, so we're done there. I made the rogue and all that stuff, you know. We have to keep doing these for the future. Right now, my opal wore off. Go top it back off. I'm using the equipment opal. There we go. My XP shrine's still active, so maybe I'll knock out another dungeon afterwards, just to make sure it's online. You know, maybe after a quick Tree of Whispers. Or maybe I'll do a Tree of Whispers dungeon. Whatever. What character's my favorite? Well, the druid's pretty nice. I'm fond for all these characters. I think the rogue is my least fond. Because I have an appreciation for... I always have an appreciation for a mage in an RPG. Pretty awesome. Powerful, glass cannon. Power fantasy of being a wizard. You know what I mean? So, it's always nice to be a sorcerer. Okay? It's always cool. It's always a different vibe going on. And Barbarian's always awesome. I like the Barbarian the most for certain reasons, but not really the most. I like the Barbarian the most if I want it to be harder or whatever. If I'm doing hardcore, I think it's cooler to do as a Barbarian because you have to move around a bit more. And I like the fact that the Barbarian has 4 different weapon slots, which allows for more aspect customization and potential synergies. You know what I mean? And the Spiritborn is really awesome. It's really awesome. We all know that, but it's almost too awesome. And I like how I built mine. Just hopping around, jumping and everything. Lots of cool stuff, working with the synergies and things. And it's clearly the most powerful for this season with that Quill Volley shot, but I'm specifically not using Quill Volley. But the Druid is always nice as well. It's your little hybrid class, and there's different ways to pull it here and there, and lots of versatility. And it's usually what I end up doing for the longest, because I have the most fun with it. This Druid right here is pretty thin. And I'll probably remain with this guy, even though my Spiritborn is stronger right now. It's only because he has higher level glyphs, and I won't really be able to tell the difference between their difficulty until this guy has tier 100 glyphs. I can't really compare him to my Spiritborn, because my Spiritborn has tier 100 glyphs, you know? There's so much power behind the glyphs, so you can't really tell. But right now I'm the Druid and I like it a lot. Really nice. I got a bunch of stuff going on. It's really awesome. Like, this Cataclysm is so powerful and lasts a long time. You know, and it kills enemies on the lower difficulty, like all by itself. Just existing. Just random lightning bolts, just killing things. Doing a ton of damage just passively. And every time I cast this, it resets that. Every time I hop through the enemies, it resets my ultimate. You didn't know that the Quill Volley is a thing? Well, it's what everybody's using. Quill Volley is what everyone is using to push deep content. And it's pretty darn normalized everywhere as you go deeper in the game, and everyone is using it. As the season goes on, more people are experimenting with different classes, but if they're not doing that, they're doing the Quill Volley version of the Spiritborn. It's all they're doing. So with my build, I'm specifically not using the Quill Volley because I don't want to be confused with those scum. Well, I would say most are using it. It's where they're shooting a big fan of little feathers. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And they're doing quintillions of damage. QT. Quintillion. They're doing tier 150 content, and then they get bored and wander around the world. it's the current meta build in the entire season that is doing the best is the Quill Volley Spiritborn. That is the current best thing. So, 3 and 3. Let's go for a Torment. Yes. I don't like looking up stuff. Like right now, there's apparently the situation with the druid involving the boulder and the hurricane. I only know this because it was the head... I'm in the Diablo 4 community on X, and then somebody pinned to the very top of the board saying, man, this boulder cane druid really is the best thing ever. And I'm like, great, now I can't be a druid, because I was going to be a druid, and I was going to use boulder, and I was going to use hurricane. I didn't know what the boulder cane thing was until I got some item. There's a new item this season that makes the boulder revolve around you whenever you cast hurricane, and so forth. But that's not how I use boulder. I use boulder to push enemies in front of me, like in the previous season. So I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. I'm just not going to use that item, and I'm not going to use boulder. And I was using rabies for a bit, but I made a lot of changes yesterday. I I swapped out my weapon, I swapped out a ring, I swapped out my chest, and I swapped out a glyph. Quite a bit, and now I'm more capable than before. And I swapped out my primary ability. I took off my basic attack, and I swapped it out for a second core ability. So now this right here is a second core ability, because it's free. You see how my mana isn't going down? My mana isn't going down whenever Cataclysm is active, because of this one ring over here, the Mjolnir ring. While Cataclysm is active, I have infinite spirit, and my damage deals have 94% extra damage. That's insane. And look how long Cataclysm lasts. And I was using this other weapon, and it gave me an offensive attack whenever I used Earthen Bulwark or a defensive ability near poisoned enemies, and it dealt more damage to poisoned enemies. And I was like, well, that's great, because I'm poisoning them. I want more damage versus poisoned enemies, and that's a great source of flim-flam. But then I was looking at new potential, because I hit a wall with my damage. And I was looking at this axe here, and it has a double chunk of critical strike damage, you see? It's built into the weapon, and the first line is also critical strike damage. And it says Bloodhowl grants stealth, and killing an enemy with Shred grants stealth. And breaking stealth gives you guaranteed stealth, guaranteed critical strikes. And plus 4 to Toxic Claws means my critical strikes with Shred deal some poison damage, and it has a big chunk for Shred. Every time I cast Bloodhowl, I turn invisible. And that was going to work very well with this chest. You see, the Shroud of False Death, where if you haven't dealt damage the last 2 seconds, you gain stealth. And the key thing here is deal 566.1% more damage on the next attack after entering stealth. So the goal is to add more stealth. So I was using this chest here with my Spiritborn, and the whole goal was to activate that a bit more by giving yourself more stealth. There's a rune that grants stealth after performing a couple things, and I was using that. I was using a rune that granted the rope, movement speed, and some other garbage for like a couple seconds after doing some stuff. So I already knew about that chest existing, but I was using another chest a second ago called the Mad Wolf's Glee that gives you plus ranks to werewolf skills, increases werewolf movement speed with the digigrade whatever boost, and